Good afternoon, everyone. Nice to see you. Now, let's go and do our part two. How to avoid breach of fiduciary duty, part two. Let us start. Learning objectives. At the end of today, you will have a good understanding of fiduciary duties and learn how to comply with them so that you will enhance customer satisfaction. As a result, you will get more repeat deals. We must also learn from the mistakes of other people. It is less painful and we can progress faster. Oops, ayo, I make a costly mistake. If that happens to you, then it's a painful process. Let us avoid any costly mistakes by learning from other people. So, wise men, wise women learn from their mistakes, but wiser men learn from the mistakes of others. We belong to the category of the wiser people, so we will learn from the mistakes of other people. Let's recap what we have studied last week. Last week, we touched on the following matters. We said that fiduciary duty is the legal and ethical responsibility of an agent to work in the best interest of their client. So when we accept the appointment to represent our principal, we are put in the position of trust. Legally, we are called a fiduciary. Right? And the Code of Ethics and the Professional Service Manual spells out the duties of an agent to act in the best interest of the client. That is fiduciary duty. And we, the agents of Singapore, must comply with the Code of Ethics and Professional Client Care and the Professional Service Manual, failing which, warning, fine, suspension, revocation, and or imprisonment. To remember the 6 fiduciary duties, I told you that we must think of old car. Vincent Jan has taught us learning to learn. We must learn to associate. When you associate something, it's easy to remember. So we now will associate old car with the 6 fiduciary duties of a property agent. What does old car stand for? O for obedience. L, loyalty, disclosure. And then we have confidential information, accounting, and reasonable care. Last week, we covered the first 3 portions of fiduciary duty, which is obedience, loyalty, and disclosure. So we have covered the old part. Now we will cover CAR, C-A-R. Today we will cover the balance of 3 fiduciary duties of a property agent and is summarized in the word CAR. Confidential information, accounting, and reasonable care. So let us start with C, confidentiality. Keeping information confidential and secret. So we, the agents of Singapore, have a duty to keep secret all information given to us by the client, because that is called a duty of confidential information. So an agent must safeguard the principal's confidence and secrets. Imagine you appoint me and you tell me about your secrets. I must keep it private and confidential because that is part of the fiduciary duty of an agent. So if the client says that he is in dire straits, I cannot disclose this to the other side because I must protect the client's interest. We cannot tell the other side that my seller is willing to sell at below market price because my seller is so desperate. That is wrong. Conversely, if your buyer is keen on a property and willing to pay a much higher price, shh, don't tell the other side. Pretend that you are not in a hurry to buy so that you can get the lowest price for your client. For example, seller tells agent, I must sell my house urgently because I owe the bank many months of installment. The bank is going to repossess it. I know my house is worth $1 million. Actually, I'm willing to let go at 900,000. Please help me to sell quickly. So the agent advertised for sale, and then there's a buyer. And then when the direct buyer comes, the agent tells the buyer, Mr. My seller is in urgent need to sell the property. The market price is 1 million. You can see the recent transaction. I tell you what, I can sell you the house at $900,000. This means you will make a paper profit of 100,000 because my seller is in dire straits. He's going to be bankrupt. He must sell. So 900,000, you can get it. So if you want to buy now, I can sell to you at 900,000. What do you think? Why don't you put up a check for $9,000 so that I can give to the seller so that you can buy it? So what has gone wrong? What has the agent done wrong? The agent has breached the duty of confidential information. In the first place, he should not disclose to the buyer that the seller is in dire straits, is an urgent need to sell. By disclosing that, oh, my seller is going to be bankrupt, you must sell quickly. You have exposed the weakness of the seller and weakened the bargaining power, as a result of which your seller will get lesser amount of money. Therefore, agent, you have breached the confidential duty. On conviction, warning, fine, suspension, revocation of license. Because it's breach of confidential information, I shall not send you to prison. The next one is accounting. C is for confidential information. A is accounting. So we, the agents of Singapore, have a duty to account to the client for all monies received on behalf of the client. We know that as agents, we cannot receive the option fee. We cannot receive the security deposit for HDB rental. But for rental of private property, we can receive the security deposit as well as the monthly rent, collect on behalf of the client. It is permissible, but we do not do it. Anyway, it is permissible. In the event that the agent should receive money on behalf of the client, then we should account for it. We cannot mix the money with our own money. That is called accounting. An agent must account for all money and property received on behalf of the principal, safeguard the money, and explain clearly which money came in and where did the money go, because there's a duty of accounting for all money received. It's not our money. And also, we must not commingle. To commingle means is to mix. Clients' money, if you should collect clients' money because you're doing property management or because you're doing private rental and it's a special arrangement, clients' money is put under separate client's account or separate bank account. Your money is under your account. You cannot mix the two. By commingling, you have breached the fiduciary duty of accounting, So the money must be kept separately. We should not be collecting money in the first place, but sometimes due to special arrangement, because the client is overseas and they instruct us, we oblige you. So let's look at case study number 1. Property agent gets 12 months jail for forgery and stealing of rent's money. What happened actually? This agent represents the client who is in Indonesia. So a Singapore property agent has been sentenced to 12 months because he steals the money. How can you steal when it's rental money, all right? This is what happens. The Indonesian client has an apartment in Scotts Road, and the tenant is a foreign legal firm. It is called Inns & Co., a foreign law firm. And the arrangement is such between the landlord and the agent. Agent, you must collect the check every month and bank into my Citibank account. So agent has been collecting the check and banking into the Citibank account of the landlord. Then one day, agent got an idea. What, man? Cancel the collection. Gyro lah. So agent draft a letter, forge the signature of the landlord, and got the gyro to pay directly to his own account. So the money went to his account, didn't go to the landlord's account. Now, if you receive that money, that must be accounted for, but he did not. And therefore, it was found out, and later he was sentenced to jail. The gyro payment was arranged through UOB account under the agent's name, and the letter was a forged signature. Forgery is a crime. Cheating, maximum sentence 10 years jail. So in total, $37,800 has been transferred to the agent's account. Agent used it for his personal purpose, did not account to the landlord. So the district judge sentenced him to 12 months imprisonment because he has paid back what he has owed. The point is this: when we receive money, we must put separate account, must account to the client, must be transparent, cannot use the money My money, I'm going to spend it. That is stealing, and that's why he went to jail. All right. So learning point is this: an agent has legal and ethical duties to act in honesty and with integrity at all times. An agent has a duty to account for all money received for and on behalf of the client. All right. An agent must not commingle his money with the client's money. An agent must not steal the client's money. Failing which it is stealing is cheating, imprisonment. So we have covered so easy, so fast. Car, confidential information. A, accounting. So now is D, Denmark. All right. So duty of care. We, the agents of Singapore, have a duty of care to use reasonable care and diligence when we represent our client. We cannot put our client into trouble. An agent has a fiduciary duty to exercise reasonable care and diligence while doing your day-to-day work. And the standard of care expected of a property agent who is licensed by the authorities is that of a competent and professional agent. So look at the code of ethics and professional client care. So an agent is a professional. We must be competent. What does it mean? It means that you must be knowledgeable in your area of practice. It's only fair. Let's look at the case. I close a deal. What is 500,000 HDB flat? I represent the seller, 2%. How much is my commission? $10,000. And now I bring this case to a law firm to represent the client, and the lawyer does the conveyancing work. What is the legal fee? $2,000. Agent's fee, $10,000. So we receive so much money. We are professionals. Therefore, we must discharge our duty as a competent, knowledgeable, professional agent. So because we are licensed by the Council for Estate Agencies, it means that we have reached a minimum standard of professionalism. We are deemed to have the skill and expertise to discharge our duties. And that's fair. So if I appoint you to be my agent, I expect you to be knowledgeable and competent. All right. So a property agent is under duty to use his or her superior skill and knowledge in real estate area while doing the day-to-day work. So the duty includes due diligence. And what's due diligence? You have a duty to do some kind of investigation. Under the Code of Ethics and Professional Client Care, if an agent has been appointed to act either for the seller or buyer, landlord or tenant, it doesn't matter. Once you're appointed, the minimum standard is that you must exercise due diligence by doing a land title search to find out who are the owners, how many owners are there, and to get all owners to sign the document. And you can find out whether it's a freehold property or leasehold, etc., etc. That is the minimum standard of due diligence expected of an agent under the Code of Ethics and Professional Client Care. So we have a certain standard of practice that is expected of us. If you exercise your duty below the standard that's required, what's the consequence? Warning, fine, suspension, revocation. All right, so we have a duty, and we must fulfill that minimum standard that is required of a property agent. So let's look at a case study. This is an agent. His name is Michael Wang, and he represents the seller. And it's good, isn't it? He found a direct buyer, and the buyer decided to buy. Good news. So what we do? We issue option to purchase. Buyer, pay $1,000. Seller, give the option to the buyer. That is good news, And after that, the buyer came again, this time to exercise the option to purchase. That is wonderful. So the buyer came and brought the option exercise fee check. And this is the check. The agent took the check, fill in the date, fill in the name of the seller, and got the buyer to sign. And the agent handed over the check to the seller. All right, so it's good, it's exercise, huh? Then the seller took the check, the agent done it. Later, alamak, he discovered the check is $40,000, not 4,000. Well, it was the buyer who prepared the check using a check writing machine, and he has put in $40,000. Now, the agent, Michael, just put in the date, the name of the drawee, and get it signed. The agent did not check the amount, as a result of which now Michael has breached HTB regulations. What do you mean? Under HTB regulation, maximum option fee is 1,000, maximum exercise fee is 4,000, making a total deposit of 5,000. Now we have 1,000 plus 40,000. That's 41,000, and that is way beyond the 5,000. Agent, how come you did not check? Now the seller has paid 41,000, and now the buyer has paid 41,000, and the buyer went to seller. Hey, seller, return my money. I give 41,000. Return me 36,000. The seller only returned 9,000 and went into bankruptcy. That means the buyer lost money. So lodge a complaint. Whose fault is that? Agent's fault. Hey, Mr. Yeo, you know who prepared the check now? The buyer prepared the check using his own check writer. Irrelevant. Agent, you have a duty to check. If it's 40,000, you should have alerted the client. You did not alert. So the agent was charged for failing to comply with HTB procedure. What do you mean? HTB says the maximum deposit is 5,000. How can you collect 41,000? Nothing to say. So the agent pleaded guilty, Your Honor. Yes, I'm guilty. Therefore, the district committee considered that the agent had a duty to check and he failed to check. Fine, $3,000, suspension 4 months, and fixed cost of 1,000. Agent, how come you're not competent? Don't you know that under the Code of Ethics, you have a duty to check? You have a fiduciary duty to exercise reasonable care, and you've fallen below the standard of reasonable care. Fine, $3,000, suspended 4 months. So learning point is this: we, the agent, have a duty to check. Although you represent the seller, when the buyer gives a check, you must check the amount, besides putting in the name of the payee and getting the guy to sign. Why did this agent get into trouble? Because he failed to do the checking, as a result of which he was fined. So we can escape this kind of painful consequences by making sure that we check. Otherwise, we can be charged for failing to exercise reasonable care and concern. All right. So number 3, another case where the agent, you are an agent. I pay you $10,000. How come you're so incompetent? Where did you get your training? Why didn't you go under Mr. Yeo's training? Amy was fined $6,000 and suspended for 6 months. Why was Amy fined $6,000 and suspended for 6 months? Amy is a registered salesperson doing HTB, and she was fined because she conducted estate agency work without being competent. She is incompetent. She doesn't have full knowledge. What do you mean? Well, Amy was engaged by the client to sell an HDB flat. And that's good news. Let's say, I give you 2%, sell HDB flat. And the buyer came and offered the price. All right, you look at the black box. Amy's client wants to sell at $660,000. Buyer said no. The maximum is $640,000. 660, 640. There is a difference of $20,000. So the deal cannot be closed. Amy tells her client, Mr. Seller, issue the option to purchase at $640,000 because there is a cooling off period of 7 days to withdraw from the sale after the option has been granted. Seller issued the option as 640,000 because you got 7 days cooling off period to withdraw from the sale after the option has been granted. This is what she told the client. So look at the black box. It says that in the red box, she misrepresented to a client. That's after CA's investigation. Amy misrepresented to a client that there is a 7 days cooling off period to withdraw from the sale after the option has been issued. There's no such period. Amy, why do you say such a thing? Yes, there's a 7-day cooling off period. You can see that Amy knows in her mind that there's a 7-day cooling off period, but she doesn't know exactly what it is. So she is not competent. The 7-day cooling off period applies to resale checklist for sellers. If a seller wishes to sell an HDB flat in the past, you have to do a resale checklist. Let's say you do on the 1st. On the 8th, then you can collect the $1,000. The 7 days is to give the seller time to think whether to sell or not to sell. So the 7-day cooling off period applies to resale checklist for sellers. Today is the intent to sell. That's the 7 days. But Amy is confused. She thought that 7 days applies to option to purchase. There's no such thing. Once the seller has given an option to purchase and taken some money in return, no turning back. No turning back. Can't turn back because the buyer, if he wants to buy, can enforce it by a court action known as specific performance. And that's what happened. So the buyer says, if you don't complete, I'll take legal action against you. Alamak. Amy, what happened? Oh, yo, sorry. I thought the 7 days applied to option to purchase. Actually, to resale checklist, it's my fault. Sorry. You are the seller. Will you get angry or not? Because of you, you're not competent. I lost 20,000. Sorry also, I lost 20,000. How? All right. So under the code of ethics, it is stated that an agent must not mislead a client, must not provide false information. In this case, and must not be doing HDB if you're not conversant. Amy has broken all these rules. She is not competent. Now, under the fiduciary duty, under R, you must exercise reasonable care. You are supposed to be competent, and Amy is not competent. Therefore, she was fined and suspended. Fined $6,000, suspended for 6 months. So the learning point is that we, the agents of Singapore, must be competent. We must know our area of practice, failing which we can be subject to fine. So a property agent must use reasonable care and diligence in representing the client. We are expected to have a certain standard of competence. And if you can't even know the difference between 7 days cooling off period, between a resale checklist and an option to purchase, then you are not competent. You shouldn't be practicing in this area. So because you are deemed to have a certain standard of expertise and she has fallen below the standard, therefore, she was subject to fine and suspension. Study number 4. In this case, John is the agent. Jane is a company director. And Jane says, John, find me a place. I need to do a beauty training school. Beauty training school is fine, is it? So John was appointed and he found a place called Midview City. Wow, Sin Ming Lane, man. Midview City. Nice cat. All right, so they went to see the place. And when the client went to see the place, she informed both the agents, I want to use this place for beauty training school. Anyway, to cut the matter short, so she paid $8,100 to the landlord. She started to do renovation, incurred $3,800. And then she went to meet the people's session, and she says, I want to get funding for my training. So she said that for that purpose, you must get approval for the use of property. So they went to CURA, want to apply for change of use. Cannot, because Midview City is B1. B1 is a factory. Hey, agent, Factory is for warehouse and manufacturing. The 60-40 rule apply, you know. How can you rent a factory to run a beauty school? Where did you get your training? You client already paid how much? 8,001, 5,004, 3,000 renovation. How? So after complaint, it was discovered that at all material time, the property was zone B1. You do not know, man? Don't you know that Midview City is B1 factory? All right, so since if that's the case, then you must apply for change of use. All right, so the agent failed to advise the client that B1 is not approved. And then further investigation, agent also doesn't know, because these agents only do residential. Now, for the first time, he do commercial, and he go and rent a factory for commercial use. The respondent was not aware. Hey, that means you are not competent. How can you be not aware? You are licensed by CEA, you know. Respondent was not aware that the property was zone B1 and could not be used for beauty, and he didn't make any effort to find out. So he was charged, failing to be fully conversant. You have fallen below the standard required of a professional agent by not knowing that the area's zone B1 cannot be used for commercial use. You must go to commercial property there. Failing to render professional conscientious service to the tenant, all right, because you know you have not applied for change of use there. So the outcome is that agent was found guilty. All right, so in sentencing him, they found that he is incompetent, although he got 11 years of experience. All right, so as a result of which he was fined $2,000, suspended for 3 months. Why was the agent fined? Because he is incompetent. He is not knowledgeable, not familiar in the area of practice. Therefore, you have fallen below the standard of reasonable care expected of a professional agent. Amy is the same. All right, so learning points, agent must be competent in the area of practice, failing which, warning, fine, suspension, revocation of license. Finally, one last case. Financial penalty and suspension for agent who provided clients with wrong details. Again, this agent is incompetent. You know, so fine $6,000, suspension 4 months. Why? This is an executive measurement. In the mind of the agent, a mezzanette is a 2-story building with inner staircase. In the mind of this agent, a mezzanette must be executive mezzanette. She is not aware there is such thing as a model A mezzanette. What? Model A mezzanette. That means it's flat. Model 5A. Model A mezzanette is only 137 square meters. Executive mezzanette is 148 square meters. Hey, that is 100 square feet now, the size of one room. So the client employed this agent to find an executive mezzanette. All right. And then when the client asks, what's the difference? There's no difference, not much difference. All right. So model A, more or less the same. The agent says, so now the client offer to buy. All right. So later, the client offered 520,000 because in the mind of the client is executive mezzanette. All right. The buyers did a valuation report and he got it. Agent saw it. Model A mezzanette. Floor area 137 square meters. Market value 450. Despite receiving the valuation report, agent did not realize the error. She didn't know that there are different types of mezzanette. When the clients contacted her to ask what's the difference of the size of valuation report, the difference is because of 10 square meters, which is 100 square. Include the thickness of the wall. I don't know what is the thickness of the wall. Can be 10 square meters. And she managed to convince the client because the client said you're a professional, you see. So the buyers thus continue to believe that they are buying an executive mezzanette, actually buying a model A. So it was completed in March, and then August, they realized, I bought a 5A and I pay for executive mezzanette. Agent, you are in trouble. So lodge a complaint. They learned about the mistake at this time as well. Throughout the transaction, agent didn't know that. Hey, what kind of agent? You don't even know the difference between executive mezzanette and model A mezzanette. What kind of agent are you? Not competent. You have breached the fiduciary duty because you have fallen below the standard required of you. Failed to obtain the land title search. Failed to be knowledgeable. Caused the client to lose money. As a result of which she was fined and suspended. All right, so we can see, we can learn from here. She was fined $6,000, suspended for 4 months. It's human error. But I can tell you, there are many, many other cases where the agent is not competent and therefore has fallen below the standard required, and therefore it's a breach of fiduciary duty. So let us summarize what we have learned today. Fiduciary duty is a legal and ethical duty to act in the best interest of the client. And when you are appointed agent, you are in the position of trust. You are fiduciary. The Code of Ethics and Professional Client Care has said that there are fiduciary duties spelled out therein. An agent must comply with the provisions of the Code of Ethics and Professional Client Care, failing which, warning, fine, suspension, revocation, and imprisonment. To remember the 6 fiduciary duties, think of the acronym OLCAR. O stands for obedience, L loyalty, and D disclosure. What does CAR stand for? Confidential information, accounting, and reasonable care. So today, plus last week, we have covered the 6 elements of fiduciary duty under OLCAR. An agent must obey the lawful instruction of the clients. An agent has a duty of loyalty and must get the best price and to protect the interests of the client. An agent has also a duty of disclosure to the client, must tell everything, offers, receive, any material information relating to the transaction, must inform the client. An agent also a duty of confidential information. Keep secret. Oh, my client is going to be bankrupt. Can sell it. Hurry. Type hang my chip sale. What kind of agent are you? You're supposed to protect the interest of the client, and you expose the client. That's bad. An agent must come for all monies received. If you receive money, keep separate. No commingling. An agent, you are licensed by CA. You must have reasonable standard of competence, failing which, warning, fine, suspension, revocation of license. So we have looked at the various case studies, 7 reflective case studies. At the end of the day, we now know what are the 6 fiduciary duties. What are they? OLCAR. O, obedience. L, loyalty. D, disclosure. C, confidential information. A, accountability. And R, you must have reasonable standard. We have learned from people's mistakes. We learn from it, and therefore we will not commit those mistakes. We have come to the end of the session. Thank you. All the best, and see you again. Have a nice day. Bye.